Now let's move on to this, the organization aspect, because I think that the business side, I think more or less, I think we have covered, and definitely tomorrow we would like to actually go through one transaction maybe with your permission as to how the service actually is being delivered, kind of thing. I think that's so that people can understand. Now let's look at the organization, the way you built up this organization. I think two of you had shared the vision, then you have a purpose, and then the next stage at some point it must have been now, okay, we need some more people. Because I think too, because as the scope of activities are increasing, so what were ideas? How did you go about? Because I think we keep seeing, thanks, like you rightly said, entrepreneurship, at least in India, is not so much glamorous, because I think you'll find a lot of Doreen Thomases then encouraging people. Maybe within the immediate circle, yes, I think people, for want of giving benefit of doubt, they definitely encourage. But I think somebody who is nothing to do with you, as I just look at you as a business people, so may not be encouraging. So from that point of view, so how did you go about choosing people that you think, because after you, I think now you're expanding the scope of, almost like you're expanding the vision itself, and then somebody has to share that purpose and then align both at the purpose level as well as at the, at a professional, because unless and until there is a alignment, I'm sure the body language, the kind of value that they bring into the table may not be as good as. So what were you, when you're looking at the team selection, so maybe the first person after you, maybe the second person after you?
So I think we'll probably answer that question by talking about our own skill sets to begin with,
right.
Because we really complement each other's skill sets, right? So Naiyya comes with a lot of strategy and a marketing background at McKinsey and Harvard. I've always been a finance worshipper, and I've done my MBA in finance, and I went to SRCC before that. So as far as both of us are concerned, I think we're really balanced out in terms of our approach, in terms of business development on one hand, and in trying to create value.
You also become sounding board to each other, right?
Absolutely. Right. So who do we go to? Who do we turn to when we keep hearing things in the market saying, how are you going to make money, right? And that's a time when we spend time with each other and we tell each other that this is the initial problem that we were trying to solve, and now let's put things in perspective and see how we can continue to do that. So apart from our skill sets, I think one thing which we are both very clear on is that we need to have people in the team, like you mentioned earlier, who share the vision. And who better than a working mother or a mom who can really share the vision? Because going back to a point earlier, they are very open to sharing their views, and they write reviews, and they want to help other people. So I think that was the starting point for us. And in a lot of areas where we required soft skills in terms of marketing, in terms of connecting with the audience, we came up with the mom champion strategy. So what we're doing is we're trying to create an army of mothers who are our hands and feet in the ground, who are spending a lot of time talking to them, understanding their needs, their problems, which again keeps evolving depending on what stage they are. And they come back and feed that information to us. Now, I don't think there is anything else which is more valuable than knowing what our target audience really wants, because ultimately the services who want to connect with them, that's the kind of information that they are also looking for. So in a lot of these areas, when it comes to marketing, talking to people, taking surveys, getting reviews from people, we are very clear that we will get more and more mothers to work either part-time or flexi-time for us, because that will really help us to retain them as well, and because they sort of automatically align to the vision.
Absolutely.
In addition to that, obviously we need people, from a tech background, from so if I were just to look at top management, it's more about getting somebody to join the core team who can be from a tech background, who can help us scale really fast, is something that we are focusing on as well. But right now we have a team of 6 people, 2 of us, 2 mom champions who are helping us in marketing and social media, 1 data entry person, and 1 coder whom we recently hired.
Very good. And how has been your experience with them? So did they meet your expectations, or do you think, I mean, at some point, maybe of course everybody goes through their own, maybe tweaking here and there because you would have, but largely how has been the experience?
So, I actually read a lot about how other people have built their business out, right? And I think the key that we've been looking for is not someone who comes highly skilled or with credentials and all of that. We look for a sort of passion and a determination, right? And almost like resilience, if you will, right? And that it takes time to see that play out. But then we've seen employees and members of our team who have that do really, really well, right? So for instance, our data entry a teammate. So she's actually, I mean, when she came, the first couple of weeks she really struggled. Her English wasn't up to the par we wanted on our website, etc. But then her openness, her willingness to learn, right, and her value system, right. That if she's made a mistake, she confesses to a mistake, and then she says that this is where I think I'm doing this wrong. Can you help me, right? Sort of that willingness to really be open about what is going well and what is not. I think that made us trust her so much that now we are actually asking her to build out a data entry team. So she is actually going out and seeing CVs and receiving CVs from her her network, and she's building out her team herself, right? Which I think
it's almost like what we talked sometime back. Maybe with your permission, maybe we can say that you already started finding in your team member, all of them, the signs of what we call as an ownership quotient, that they take ownership, that it's mine.
Yes.
I think you are really blessed.
Absolutely, because what we've also realized that it's extremely important to invest a lot of time in understanding that person, in training that person, and then instilling a sense of ownership, because it only helps you as a co-founders eventually. Because what we've seen in a couple of examples in our case is that work is flowing seamlessly, and what we've also learned is that it's important to define outcomes for them. It's important to set up a broad framework in terms of how they work, but not really get involved in the day-to-day of how you should do things.
So involvement and interference.
Absolutely. And so with a good outcome plus broad framework plus review system in place, things can actually be taken care of. And that's something that we really believed in a lot after our own initial experiences, and it's working really well with people who are working for us right now.
I think maybe with your permission, we'd like to ask one very gentle question, maybe not necessarily to do with BabyChakra asset, but then from your, so that there's some people we want to, they can learn from this, or your experience. So when it comes to a startup team like yours, so and when you're choosing a startup team, other than the founding team, in this case both of you, and then you're choosing next members. So when it comes to that, let's say we're looking at two broad parameters. One is competencies, other one is character. Character mean the professional character. Like we said, someone who's very passionate, and then he doesn't have shame in saying admitting mistakes, and he doesn't mind learning, not at the cost of making many more mistakes, but then as he is improvising internally. So when you look at these two things, one, someone comes with huge competencies, but then he lacks character because he cannot gel with people. He has a problem in admitting mistakes. He cannot gel with take initiative, responsibility, and the ownership kind of thing. But then he has competence. Then you have somebody else. You have wonderful character, outstanding character. People want to fall in love with him or her because she's so lovable, because she wants to work with people and all that. But when it comes to competence, maybe just about mediocre, not so good as somebody. So given that kind of a dilemma or kind of situation, who do you would like to, or who do you think the entrepreneur people or the startup members should choose?
There's absolutely no doubt in our minds that it's a person who's got character, who's got all these soft skill sets, because we can teach that person's skills, but we can't teach the other person character. So it's almost a no-brainer in a business like ours, because it's really not about technical skill sets that help to grow a business. Even in our past organizations when we worked, beyond a point it just helps you to join the organization. But who are the people who are most successful? They're not necessarily the ones. Absolutely, they're not necessarily the ones who are from a certain pedigree in terms of the institutes that they've gone to. But it could be a person who might have joined at a much junior level, but who grows with the entire organization and really believes in delivering value at every step of the way. And so, I mean, we are absolutely clear that that's the sort of people that we're looking for. And also, to put it crudely in some manner, uh, people who have nothing to lose.
Right.
Because they are joining a startup company. If you have nothing to lose and you are in a stage of life when uh, you share the vision with us, and not constantly being distracted by the kind of offers that you keep getting in the market, and you, even if you share the vision, it is a distraction for some of them.
Exactly.
So, so that's the other thing. So, I mean, we are working closely with people. Even if it's a data entry person, we have gone for a person who has not been working earlier, because we realize it's easy to train that person, but
because he doesn't have bad baggage.
True. So I mean, I put it very crudely, but we
Absolutely,
realize
right.
that that's something which is very important when building out a team
Yeah.
during startups. And obviously, there are some other skill sets which we do need where
Right.
we wouldn't go with that
But just
philosophy.
to supplement that, I think that actually that is what, if people ask you what keeps you up at night, right?
Right.
It's our team that keeps us up, because we know that these are people who have trusted us and joined us, right? We are responsible for their next salary,
Right.
right?
Right.
It's the two of us who
Yeah,
are
right.
responsible. There's
Right.
no one else who's
Absolutely.
responsible.
Absolutely.
So when, even yes, I mean, relative to maybe other people, they might have less to lose,
Right.
but they still have a lot to lose, right? So if they lose their jobs tomorrow with BabyChakra,
Right.
I don't think we'd be in a position to forgive ourselves.
So, at a very personal level, let me ask you, very personal level to both of you, at any point of time, did you ever feel the burden of creating future for maybe a small team right now, just about 4, but then did you ever feel the burden of creating future for others?
Yes, we feel it all the time.
All the time.
All the
All
time.
the time.
Right.
I mean, that's sort of the incentive also that we create. You sell them a dream, right? I mean, right now, frankly, till very recently, until we moved to an accelerator's office,
Right.
co-working space with an accelerator's help, we were working out of my dining table at home, right? So when people would come for interviews, you basically see this home office, which isn't inspirational at all, but you sell them that dream. You
Right.
see, we're building a world-class company from our house, right? We're going to revolutionize parenting, right? That's the dream you sell to these people, and that's why they join you. And you feel responsible, because once you've sold the dream, it's not like I can just run away one day.
So, I think that prompts me to ask the next one. So maybe I think with that one, we should be able to move on to the next one. And maybe you would have interviewed a lot of people, who have approached you, or maybe you would have approached them. And then you would have weeded out maybe most of them, or maybe some of them, or maybe quite a few of them. So what has been your experience? So when people come to very startup, the initial company which is in the very initial stages of the startup,
Sure.
maybe just about to be maybe incubated, or maybe even before that. So what has been your experience? So what people skeptical about joining you, or what were their concerns?
So I think there has been more openness now to joining younger ventures.
Alright.
I don't think that that is like, earlier it was a complete no-no for
Right.
most people, but people realize that they can build careers and in fact learn faster. The learning curve is much steeper
Right.
in a startup environment, and as long as they sort of find solace that the founders mean business, right? They mean well.
Right.
They're trying to do the
Right.
best they can to
Right.
make
Right.
it go forward. So I think then they find more confidence in joining a startup environment. That said, however, I think a big red flag for us is always when someone comes in, one of the first questions he or she asks is, what is the salary? Right? Because, I mean, again, like, you want someone who's building out this product, this vision, this dream, right? And understandable, of course, people have practical considerations,
right.
but
Absolutely.
that is not core to a startup experience. You want to come because you want to learn, you want to have more ownership, you want to have more autonomy.
So correct me if I'm wrong, since again both of your experience of having led this team of people, one of the great things, or maybe one of the strongest advocacy issues for a startup is that anyone who joins a startup team has the ability, or has a chance to learn almost end to end. Then you join a big company, you end up learning in a startup mentality, because it's prepared so that this function, this division kind of thing. But in a startup, I almost end up, because I keep seeing you working, doing everything, right? Maybe I keep seeing you as a co-founder again doing everything. So you share the responsibilities. You don't say that it's not my cup of tea kind of thing. So therefore, do you think that is one of the strongest? Maybe I won't say sales pitch, but I think that's a strongest advocacy issue for a startup. Yeah.
So we've been fortunate to have people like that, to be very honest, because I think the inspiration, our regular communication, regular dialogue that we keep having internally on where we really want to take BabyChakra in 5 years' time, actually inspires a lot of people to start working outside their functional responsibilities.
Right.
So we've had people who are managing our back end actually go out, speak to the sister, tell them this is what BabyChakra is, and the sister comes back and giving us recommendations on these are the kind of places that I go to shop for my child's requirements during a monsoon period. And we've actually ended up profiling her on our website, and which has helped us a lot in our marketing strategy as well. So these are the small things that some people whom we are working with, we've done that for us, and that's something that we sell as a dream as well when we speak to other people, because you're absolutely right. When people join larger organizations, it's difficult for them to see how their initiatives or how their proactiveness has shaped up a vision
Right.
over a period of time. Here,
You can see the results immediately.
it's immediate.
Right.
It's a very small team. We are able to move really fast, and if somebody has an idea, we are absolutely open to discussion. It needs to be implemented if it's a good idea, and we need to move really fast on that.
Absolutely.
And within a few days, you can actually see results in terms of how it's drawing traffic to the website. When they see those results, they actually get inspired to get more participative, get more involved in the business. So you're absolutely right. It's the dream of shaping up a thought or an idea that I may have,
Right.
and see it taking shape.
But there's just one thing I want to say there. I think it's also important to walk the talk for us, right? I mean, I've actually seen this a lot. I think in India, I think in the US, I mean, it's taken for granted. Everyone does everything, right? It's not like here. I mean, there are these artificial hierarchies that get built in, right? And like things like there'll be certain tasks that will only be delegated to so-called juniors, right? And like the senior top management will not do certain things, right? And I think this artificial construct that this creates is actually a big barrier to everyone owning that process and owning that piece of vision, right? So I think, I mean, frankly, Mitesh and I make it very, very clear that if someone can't do a certain task, like let's say we're setting up an event and tables and chairs need to be moved, we are doing it along with everyone else. There is no sort of artificial hierarchy or I can only do these kind of functional roles, because that would just kill the team spirit. And I think that will be probably interesting to see as we scale and as we try to put in more processes in place, because that also needs to happen over time.
Right.
How do we manage all of that,
Very
keeping the
seamlessly
autonomy?
as good as what you're doing.
The way it's happening.
Yes.
Very good. I think you're really blessed that you have had you must be having a rocking and very inclusive team, as I might like to call it. Now let's move on to the next segment that we are looking at. We would like to look at is the challenges that you've had, both as an entrepreneurial perspective, that's maybe at a personal level, because maybe at a family level somebody might expect it, maybe Naiyya should have been here because she spent already 2 years time, and maybe Mitesh must have been here, that kind of thing. That's at a personal level I'm saying. And then the second one is different with the business part of it, maybe, so what kind of challenges did you face in the last couple of years?
So distractions have been many. So there is absolutely no doubt that on a daily basis we struggle with trying to stick to a rock solid foundation that we define for ourselves, because that's the only way we can be clear of the distractions that we face on a daily basis from family members, from ex-colleagues who constantly have the same question again and again in terms of, why are you doing this? I mean, are you a social enterprise? What is it that is driving you? How are you going to make money?
Right.
So that's one distraction which has been quite challenging for us, and like I said before, we really become the sounding boards for each other. We keep reiterating the very initial principle with which we started this journey, and let's not lose sight of that.
Right.
And we keep reminding ourselves of the many successes that we've encountered along the way when somebody comes to us and they tell us that, hey, you guys are doing a great job, I need to do this, you're helping me connect to a mother. So those are the defining principles or milestones that we are instilling in our minds to steer clear of these distractions at a personal level.
Right.
On the business front, I think being an early stage startup, we do get similar distractions as we speak to more and more people in the form of advisors, in the form of potential investors, because what drives the business is really the psyche of the entrepreneur more than anything else.
Absolutely.
And the more people you speak to, they come from their own backgrounds and their own nature, and they will offer you advice in terms of maybe this is what you should be doing and this is not what you should be doing. Now it's very important for Naiyya and me to really understand, not only to stay focused, because there are some valuable insights from those discussions as well.
Right.
And because we are a startup, we cannot be absolutely rigid about what we're doing.
Right.
So to really pick up those valuable insights from these discussions and understand that this is what we should now be experimenting with.
Right.
This is where we should be pivoting towards. Even if what we thought,
right,
is core to what we do, it's important to really to be nimble, to keep testing things out, take people's feedback, and maybe what might work could be totally different from what we had initially started out with.
Right.
Not that it's happened to us so far, but on a daily basis, that is one challenge that we constantly face.
I mean, maybe just to paraphrase it in a different, what Soichiro Honda said in 1946 when he started some institution called HDR, Honda Technical Research Institution, and that's the only company in the world which has started technical division before the actual manufacturing company. And then he had this guts to say that I want to be selectively flexible. I don't want to be flexible, but then selectively flexible. Is that what you have?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Very interesting.
That just sums it up really well.
Very good. What has been your experience, Naiyya, in this?
So personally,
Right.
in terms of challenges,
And especially because the whole idea, I'm telling you honestly, is that given the kind of pedigree that both of you come, I think you could have been, I mean, people look at it because I think there's also social stigma, if I may call it that, because people always compare you with maybe your, the peers, or maybe your compatriots elsewhere in the companies and all that. And then maybe your own, within circle of friends and all that influence, maybe people look at, I mean, why is she not progressing? Why is she stuck there? And why she couldn't come in? I've told her a long time. I've told him long. So that's the kind of pressure that you have you experienced?
So very honestly, I don't face peer pressure at all. I mean,
Right.
I've never really been affected by it as much. I'm being very honest.
Right,
I mean,
absolutely.
I had an offer with a law firm in London when I was graduating from
Right.
law school in Bangalore. I went on to McKinsey, which was an unknown entity almost at
Mm.
that point in time in law
Absolutely,
school, right? I
absolutely.
mean, I've done things. I've done like a lot of non-profit work. I mean, I've done whatever I wanted to do, and I've
Very close to
fortunately been successful at what I've done.
Right.
So I haven't faced peer pressure per se. But what I do face in starting my own venture has actually been a lot of pressure that I put on myself, because I feel that this is something that we are creating, and every day I feel responsible. And I actually literally live, breathe, dream, sleep BabyChakra,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there's nothing else that has immersed me so much previously in my career. So I think just the fact that I can't disassociate myself from the venture we are creating,
Right.
and this, sort of maybe the stress it's created at some level,
Right.
I think that is the only thing that personally
Mhm.
has affected me as much.
So when you talk about stress, is it from the point of view of the kind of vision that you have for
Absolutely.
BabyChakra?
So, I mean, frankly, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't see a massive, beautiful global vision for BabyChakra,
Absolutely.
right? So, every day that passes by, I constantly ask myself, like, what is the delta we created today, right? What is the feedback we got today? So, in fact, this morning when we were waiting, Mitesh and I were saying, okay, it's been 9 months since we conceptualized BabyChakra. Are we moving as fast as we plan to, right? Or do we need to be more agile and move faster? I mean, by any other metric, if I was working in a corporate or whatever, we're like, "Oh, you're moving really fast. You have 10,000 parents on your platform, all of that. You have a product out ready, you have
Right.
relationships, partnerships, all of that. But by our own internal metrics,
Are we delaying the growth?
are we living the growth?
Delaying the growth.
Are delaying the growth, absolutely. And are we living the growth,
Right,
right?
absolutely.
I mean, are we creating the growth?
Right.
So I think that, frankly, is a source of great personal pressure to me.
Okay.
And I'm not going to lie about that. I think
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
entrepreneurship is not easy.
Right.
It's,
But I think,
yeah.
so having said that, because now let's come, I think, having shared your personal challenge, look at the business challenge point of view, especially the growth per se,
Sure.
because growth is again a state of mind, because somebody is very happy. Just the way people say happiness, I think growth also is happiness, because you would have seen in US especially, there are companies which have been there last 500 years,
Yes.
might be, and they stuck to that one business, that's it, be it. But there are companies which have grown, multifold and all over the world and all that. So we have example for both. So like people say, strategy is a matter of choice, but then choice is also about what not to do,
Yes.
then what to do.
Yes.
And mostly it's the first one people get it right. What not to do, most of the time people don't. So from that point of view, the growth thing that you've had. So do you have a milestone therefore, maybe in terms of maybe revenue maybe in terms of millions of rupees or crores of whatever you call it, or else reaching out geographically. Maybe you're catering to, that's something that we would like you to also share, that maybe the demographic profile of your customers, where that are they coming largely from Bombay or maybe North India and things like that, or are they geographically spread? So that's the kind of challenge that challenge that we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, the customers part of it are the one of the business challenges.
Yeah. So we have defined milestones for ourselves because it's extremely important to keep those short-term and long-term goals as an organization. So we are very clear that we need 1 million parents, and we will have 1 million parents using BabyChakra in 3 years' time from now. So that's one milestone that we've clearly defined. 1 million. Yeah. Because
so we've been challenged on that, by the way. I had a meeting the other day with a venture fund, and the feedback I got was, isn't that too small an ambition? And I went back and I told Mitesh this, and I was like, maybe we need to think even bigger, which is great. I mean, at least people think there's so much more potential in this market. Right. And sometimes we get so stuck in our day-to-day activities that we lose sight that there might actually be a bigger picture that we
Right.
So what we've realized is that while milestones are extremely important to have, the challenging part is to keep a fine balance between scaling really fast versus continuously testing what your product is and what the feedback is, and are you really helping solve a problem. Because quite frankly, it's easy for us at some level to scale really fast. It's easy for us to be present in Delhi, Chennai, Hyderabad, Calcutta, Pune and Ahmedabad even right now. But it's important to really know after spending sufficient time in Bombay is that this is exactly the model that you need to work with. This is how things are working really well for you, because this is the stage when we can really pivot and tweak our product as much as possible. Once we become a global product, and that's definitely our vision, because in a lot of developed countries in the West, including Hong Kong, Singapore, London and US, we've seen a gap in this space. We've spoken to a lot of people and we've seen a gap in this space. So clearly the vision is global, but the challenge is to really understand when to take that next step. Because have you perfected your product, or is it important to perfect your product here before you start to scale really rapidly?
Right, absolutely. So I think having, now that you have experienced this so-called business challenge, and we wish definitely, if not today, I'm sure you should be able to achieve the first milestone, the 1 million mothers. Now the issue is that, would this be good enough for you to have the larger vision that you've had? We have no idea, by the way, maybe you can share with us as to what is your vision actually for, maybe the vision, the way I look at it is that the kind of a legacy that both of you want to leave, not while you are here. The kind of legacy that people remember, because all of us are judged by the kind of legacy that, legacy I mean again, like people define, is in terms of, would there be 10 people who would like to tread the path that you have left, or would there be 1 lakh people who would like to tread the path that you have left? That's how defined, people define the legacy part of it. So from that point of view, what's your the real vision? Because people, again, I think maybe you can correct, both of you can correct me. I think one of the most misused terms in strategy is vision. And people say that vision can be there only with, again, please correct me if I'm wrong, is visionaries. Because people add vision and plus ARY, and those people are very few. So that's a kind of, so what's your horizon in terms of BabyChakras, maybe 40 years, 50 years, 30 years, what a number of years that you can dream to, because like you said, you breathe in and out only about this.
We actually do, which is very frustrating for my husband now, because he's like, all you talk about, all our conversations center around BabyChakra. But no, the point is that, honestly, for me, the vision is that we create something that revolutionizes parenting. Honestly, that is for me the vision for BabyChakra, right?
What do we start, let's say, parenting, first ever Moms University? First ever parenting university.
So then, now the question is whether that would fall into our long-term vision or our short-term vision, right?
Absolutely.
So,
because I think that's one, because I think there's no university in the world which caters only to parents. I've never heard, to be honest. Now, can there be a whole, because I think you're trying to, like you rightly said, you're trying to build traction. And one is the business side, but other one is that holistic parenting, whichever society you are from. But because every motherhood has to go through this -9 to 5 years. I mean, there's no one who wants to be a voluntary mother. He or she has to go, irrespective of the geography. So therefore, your business is universal, if I can put it.
yes.
And then this is one of the, if I can just to substitute what you said, is this is going to enable one of the oldest, the oldest institution in the world is marriage. And one way to help flourish that institution, the oldest institution in the world, is to keep this parenthood flourishing. That's only when the actual marriage as an institution flourishes. So therefore, in that very, maybe I won't say metaphysical sense, but I think at a very global, macro level, I think you're doing that kind of human service to the oldest institution in the world. That's what I look at it. So when you say that we want to revolutionize parenting, I mean, you have that kind of bigger space. So I mean, is that what you dream, or you have something else in that we want to know?
So I think we are very clear that we want to do what we're doing in this space using technology as an enabler.
Right.
And we've obviously seen several companies in the internet space who tried doing things in the past, and the ones which have been successful are the ones which clearly have identified problems at a very core level. For example, in the case of Facebook, the need to connect with each other. In the case of Google, to really simplify things as while you're doing your daily tasks, just to look for things. So that's what we want to do in the field of parenting. Continue to use technology as a platform to help solve their problems day to day as far as taking decisions are concerned.
Right.
So that's the vision for the organization as a whole. At a personal level, I genuinely feel that I don't ever want to think that there is something in my life which I have not tried.
Right.
So in everything on a day-to-day basis, I think my yardstick for measuring whether I regret something or not is to question myself. Is to question myself. Did I give it my best?
Absolutely.
So
No regrets.
so it's extremely important. So I don't know whether that will. So to your question, whether that will inspire people to do things, but at a personal level, that's exactly how I feel when I take up any venture, whether it's on a professional basis or at a personal level. That there should not be a life of regrets.
Absolutely. So therefore, I think just to give a shape to this discussion, so is it good to say, maybe again, we're trying to draw a larger lesson from your experience in that, especially from an entrepreneur point of view, is that the entrepreneur has to have that, I know maybe for want of a better word, a perfect alignment with the mission or the purpose itself. Because if you don't have that alignment, at some point, like even if maybe for a few seconds, also if you regret, I think the DNA of yours completely changes, and therefore you may not be able to give the best shot because you yourself start doubting your own purpose and your own actions. Therefore, and then it spins off in a way that other people start getting disillusioned. They get demoralized because the more I see my founders, my co-founders, or maybe the CEOs, I fall in love with them because they're so passionate about what they're doing, and therefore, is it right to say that in the case of any startup CEOs or the co-founders, as in the case with both of you, that both of them, or the co-founders or the CEO, whatever the case may be, they must be really aligned, perfectly aligned with their vision, and therefore they live, like you rightly said, you live and live the talk, or walk the talk. Kind of thing. Is it right to say that? So that we make a generic statement.
I think it's essential. Frankly, I think in the short term, entrepreneurship has very few, if any, rewards, right? So you derive, like we've been discussing, like you derive rewards from things which are like you celebrate the small successes, and that keeps you going. And it might be literally like your first customer signing up, or your first, like the first check we got, which was for like 1,500 rupees. We framed it and we, made, like it's something that's very special to us. If you think about it objectively, it's nothing, right? But it's just the fact that you realize you've created something that is, in the short term, yielding even these small rewards, or these.
You start celebrating.
You start celebrating the small things, right? So I think yes, you need to be passionate about what you do. If you're not, then don't build out your dream. Build out someone else's who's passionate about it.
Let's think.